gazing into a literal black mirror. As you stare into the blackness, into the interminable abyss, someone or something stares back into you.
We interrupt this program to bring you a special report.
The following is an important message from Dark City. Here in the shadows of Dark City, a number of insidious tactics are used to prevent the masses from awakening to the systems of subjugation and control. In the coming weeks, this channel will delve into these methods. The engineers of this city understand that the physical enslavement of its subjects is too costly and unstable to maintain indefinitely. Thus, they have devised more covert means of subjugation. Information control is the primary means of bringing a population under its authoritarian rule. The rulers have perfected a method of mind control that eliminates the need for chains or the sting of a whip. A series of psychological operations to which everyone is exposed from an early age. These programs are incepted into impressionable minds during the most formative stages of intellectual development, and these implanted ideas will endure perpetually in the deepest regions of the psyche, influencing and directing all behaviors and beliefs. Throughout the history of human civilization, children have learned about customs and tradition through the use of myths, legends, and folk tales. These stories serve to instill within each generation the mores, values, and core beliefs that proved beneficial to its survival. In each tale, a clear lesson was imparted through the protagonist's confrontation with a potential threat to life and happiness. From an evolutionary perspective, these stories served as an extension of genetically encoded survival strategies, a form of post-genetic information transmission. Their themes convey a systematic encoding of cumulative survival strategies nested within a linguistic context, making them more easily assimilated in the developing minds of children. This was necessary for the child to become more autonomous and adopt the healthy behaviors required to contribute to the tribe or society's well-being. The fairy tale was meant to warn readers of the threats to continued survival, and how consequences of certain choices and actions would impact the survival of the individual and the well-being of the community. The tales are symbolic and linguistic codes crystallized from genetic memes into subconscious archetypes and translated to linguistic form for transmission between humans. It must be emphasized that the child's environment significantly impacts language acquisition, and by extension, its integration of mores, values, and beliefs. The neurological development at this formative stage evolved so that the child quickly absorbs the rules, syntax, and grammar of its tribe's language, as well as assimilate its mores, customs, and beliefs. At no other period in its life will the child's brain be more suggestible. Additionally, beliefs become most firmly rooted and resistant to change at this stage. Thus, it is vital for the child, as well as the tribe or culture, to fully assimilate these vital elements. The use of appealing tales was a means to this end. As implied, the child's environment is paramount in the successful transmission of this cultural information. Change the environment, change the child. If the child is exposed to corrupt information at this stage, then maladaptive behavior can become firmly rooted and difficult to overwrite. This results in dire consequences for the survival of itself and the tribe. It is possible to inculcate beliefs that lower a child's likelihood of survival. If applied on a mass scale, this would lead to extinction, a gradual genocide of the infected tribe. Like malware installed on a computer's hard drive, an enemy can infiltrate an opposing tribe with the intent to hijack the transmission of its successful strategies and replace them with dysgenic programming, the intent to gradually eliminate the tribe from competition. The tactic described lurks now in the deepest shadows of Dark City. The fairy tale evolved to warn us of such dangers. Their stories contain symbolism and archetypes designed to activate primal emotions, and they convey relevant truths as to what occurs here in Dark City. One common archetypal dynamic featured in fairy tales is the relationship between the maiden and the aging crone or witch. The aged crone, envious of the maiden's youth and beauty, seeks to sabotage the maiden's efforts at happiness, specifically, the investment of her youth and beauty in marriage and children. A common trope of these archetypal journeys involves the witch or wicked queen's use of subterfuge, mind control, and even murder to achieve her ends, a tactic that continues even to this day. The witch frequently uses a potion to put the maiden into a deep sleep so that she is unable to utilize her beauty and fertility to gain the attention of a suitable partner, usually characterized as the handsome prince. This is an interesting recurring theme in ancient literature, for a similar pattern of behavior seems to be playing out on the world stage. Competition anxiety, the psychological pressure to attain optimal reproductive opportunities, affects both males and females, although in very different ways. In the case of the female, anxiety intensifies once she is aged out of fertility, usually about the age of 30. If she has not conceived a child, or does not have any reproductive opportunities by this age, her likelihood of finding a suitable partner significantly decreases because she is unable to compete with women who are younger, more beautiful and fertile than her to attract the men she desires. The symbolism in fairy tales such as Snow White or Sleeping Beauty should be easily recognizable in the behaviors of many females in contemporary society. The aged crone, jealous of the maiden's beauty, seeks to put her into a deep sleep. In reality, older women engage in a similar strategy, except that rather than a magical potion or poison hidden inside the forbidden fruit, the sleep comes in the form of Marxist propaganda, which seeks to inculcate or hypnotize the maiden, which is a form of putting her to sleep that manifests as the anesthetization of the mind. This anesthetization of the mind is meant to ensure that maiden will refuse to invest her prime years of youth, beauty, and fertility into winning the affections of the so-called handsome prince.
Just mean that it's no longer 1937, and we absolutely wrote a Snow White that
She's
is
not going to be saved by the prince.
She's not going to be saved by the prince, and she's not going to be dreaming about true love. She's dreaming about becoming the leader she knows she can be, and the leader that her late father told her that she could be if she was fearless, fair, brave, and true.
The motivations of such behaviors are clear, since the aged crone, whose youth and beauty has faded away, also wants to win the affections of the prince. She must resort to deception, and if need be, murder to eliminate her competition. For having squandered or misspent her own youth and fertility, she can no longer command the same attention and reproductive opportunities as her rival, symbolically hypnotizing the younger maiden into wasting her own youth and beauty in the pursuit of fruitless endeavors, a career, by using shaming language and fear-mongering as to the prince's inadequacies or unworthiness as a suitor. She symbolically murders the maiden, eliminates her from contention by diminishing the qualities necessary to solidify the prince's reciprocal investment, thereby saving the prince for herself, or so she thinks. Another motif that appears frequently in fairy tales is the aged crone, wicked stepmother or witch resorting to some form of magic or variation of witchcraft as a means to disguise her age or to make herself appear more pleasing to the prince. A spell is cast to conceal her age or to bewitch the target of her affections into believing she is younger or more beautiful than she is. This is used as an alternative method to the strategy of deceiving the maiden into wasting her youth, beauty, and fertility. In contrast to the former use of subterfuge, which is aimed at the maiden, the prince is the target of the glamour spell. The crone or witch's concealment of her age, which signifies her lack of fertility, as well as her lack of beauty, is designed to trick the prince into investing his resources and status into a woman who lacks the ability to provide healthy children. The witch seeks to acquire the prince's resources, lands, and title for herself through these deceptive means. Examples of this symbolism are replete in Dark City. Even a cursory glance on social networks reveals an exhaustive number of examples that prove this to be true. The glamour spell, in which women utilize cosmetics or plastic surgery to enhance physical appearance, is deemed insidious as it not only deceives men regarding women's reproductive viability, but also undermines the evolutionary processes that prioritize the selection of healthy genes. Men, attempting to mitigate the risks associated with reproduction, rely on visual cues such as facial symmetry, youth, and bodily proportions as indicators of genetic fitness. When women present an altered image through cosmetic enhancements, they obscure genuine markers of health and fertility. This deception has broader implications, as it not only defrauds men of their resources, but also diminishes the overall genetic quality of the population by excluding healthier genotypes from the breeding pool, thereby affecting future generations. Putting the maiden into a deep sleep symbolizes the use of real-world hypnosis that targets young women. The poison apple represents the dysgenic ideologies with which they have been inculcated that compels them to invest their most fertile years in the pursuit of careers and indulging the affections of multiple men rather than submitting to their natural inclination to invest youth and beauty in snagging the handsome prince. Alternatively, the propensity of fairy tale villains to use glamour spells as a means to snare the prince's attention and usurp the maiden's role as his betrothed symbolizes the witches of Dark City, who use cosmetics and filters to conceal their age and their inability to conceive, as well as the public shaming of men who prefer younger women, all of which are designed to gain access to the prince's resources. The purpose of both are to lower the fertility rates of the tribe by overriding existing genetic programs that evolve to facilitate reproduction of the species with dysgenic behaviors. They are intended to deceive the man into investing his resources in a woman unlikely to provide healthy children, or lull the maiden into a sleep that persists throughout her prime reproductive years until she ages out of fertility. These are maladaptive programs that the enemy seeks to instill in the opposing tribe to eliminate it from competition. A soft, creeping genocide, gradually lowering fertility rates below replacement levels and beyond toward eventual extinction. Even the casting of the new Disney live-action Snow White is a form of subliminal manipulation. The casting of a more attractive woman for the role of the Wicked Queen, envious of the younger Snow White's beauty, played by a less attractive younger actress, is interesting. While the narrative ostensibly claims that Snow White is fairer than the queen who is envious of the younger girl's beauty, the viewer's mind, who are the actual target of the perceptual manipulation, understand on an unconscious level that the older actress is far more beautiful. This is meant to implant in the consciousness of the younger audience that older women are as viable in the reproductive market as younger women. By casting a more attractive older woman to play the queen's role, the viewer is meant to make an unconscious evaluation and come away with the idea that age is not important in the selection for a mate. This form of subconscious programming is a form of soft genocide, a method of eliminating an entire population from the genetic pool through the inception of maladaptive programming through which the populace voluntarily removes itself without any need of force or violence. The recent response to the live-action remake of Snow White has led some to believe that the curse has failed, citing the near-universal rejection of its themes as an indicator that the masses too have been awakened from the spell. Many herald the rejection of its absurdist ideology as a victory. I am not among them. For meanwhile, young women continue to prioritize career over family, fertility rates continue to plummet, and women's happiness has descended to unprecedented lows. Make no mistake about it, the witch's curse has accomplished its stated goal. Our princesses have tasted deep of the apple once more, and any perceived resistance is merely a stir within a slumber that persists in the shadows of Dark City. We look forward to seeing you soon.
And now back to your regularly scheduled program.
Like a labyrinth, the Black Mirror is a rabbit hole down which you are forever tumbling and from which you may never return, and your self-image will be remade into whatever form the dwellers within the darkness of the Black Mirror want you to be.
And start asking the right fucking questions.